All right, we're gonna try this again. If you're in here, fingers crossed that you can hear me, and I have no way to double check. If you can, if you can't, I'm sorry. I see 2 people in here. Can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me. Awesome. I was thinking, I don't know what I did, but I fixed something and you can hear me now. All right. That first one was just a practice round. We're going to go into it again. Welcome, guys. There's that story out there that says if you're ever chased by a wild animal, whether it be like a bear or a tiger, hopefully you haven't. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. But if you have, you don't need to be the fastest runner. You just need to be faster than the slowest runner. And that's me. Welcome. Hi, you've met the slowest runner. God did not gift me with the ability to run quickly. I always appreciate the people in my life who are runners and athletes and do that kind of thing. That's not me. I might be able to fight the bear, but by no means can I outrun it. And so I will take strength over and weights over cardio any day. And as little as I love to run, I do know one thing about people who run, athletes who race, and marathon runners. My name is Paige C. Clark, and I am a writer and professional communicator. I call this section the Why Do I Care section, to be rather blunt. Why do you care to listen to me today during this time? And I have my master's degree in psychology and life coaching, which means I know how and I love to help people accomplish their goals. And so when I was reached out to be able to do this, I was like, yes, I get to talk about what I love to do. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But instead of talking about the goals and how we get there, we're going to be talking about finish lines. And that sounds a little bit torturous. It sounds like we're just skipping ahead to the good part, but don't worry. We're not looking at celebration. We're looking at crossing that line, hitting that goal, and partying it up with your friends and family. We're not going to be talking about visualizing goals because here's the truth. I'm not an inspirational speaker. I don't like that. I am an action speaker, which means today you're going to be able to walk away with tangible next steps so you can be one step closer to hitting your goals, whatever they may be, personal, career, family, whatever they may be. You're going to be one step closer to hitting that. So you can get inspiration from Pinterest. You're going to walk away from this with something different. So let's get into it. And we are going to close it with a guaranteed way to hit your goals. Sounds a little gimmicky. I promise you it's not. And so let's go back to our marathon runner. What is the one thing that marathon runners train with? They don't start at 0 and then hit the finish line, and that's how they train. I do know about marathon runners that when they train, they know their finish line, they know how many miles they have to go, and they set the pace. A finish line shows you where you're going. So if you don't have a really clear, specific, and measurable goal, how do you know if you're going to accomplish it? If you don't have this goal in mind and it's not super specific, I encourage you, after this talk, by the way, don't leave right now, but I encourage you after this, go down and really write it down. And if you think that you've made it specific enough, go a step further. Because that's what's going to get you there. Being really specific about having a finish line and showing where you're going. Because if you don't have the finish line, how do you know when you got there? The second thing is when you have that finish line and you set that finish line, it shows how far you've come so far. So when you're in the middle of working through your goal and you feel a little downtrodden, which is bound to happen, happens to everyone during this time. When you're in the middle of it, you can know how far you've come because you know where the starting line is and you have to know where that finish line is. And then you know how far you have left to go. That's always helpful for me. I'm that person who like doesn't like to hide the timer when I'm like on the elliptical at the gym. I like to see how far I've gone and how far left I have to go. Put it in the comments if you're like that. If you can't take your eyes off the timer, I always appreciate the people who cover it with a towel. I am not one of those people. But having that finish line shows you where you're going, how far you have accomplished, and how far you have left to go. And lastly, having a finish line sets your pace. And this is what we're really going to dig in here together, is it's all about the pacing. So when marathon runners are training, or if you even see a stat about a marathon runner, right, it's all about maybe not that last, like how long it took them to accomplish that time, because it's really hard to conceptualize it and add it into its context when you see, oh, it took someone like 5 hours to run a marathon. You're like, okay, that's 5 hours. But what they do when you watch someone who's run a marathon is they'll have their pace, which is their time that it took them to run 1 mile. And that sustainability and that recurring pace that they can use again and again and again, mile after mile, that helps them get to the finish line. Helps contextualize the work that they're putting in to hit that finish line. So pace is what we're going to be talking about. When you set your finish line, you set your pace. And what I think a lot of people don't really get when they have these goals in mind is that their pace is guaranteed to get them to the finish line. It's guaranteed. When you set your pace and you keep up with your pace, you're going to hit your goals. Because when you set your goal, when you set your pace, it's all leading up to that end goal, right? If it doesn't, you might need to redo some math. I'm a communicator by nature. I am not a math person. I am not formulaic or anything by any means. I will tell you, in college, for my undergrad, I purposefully did not get a degree in marketing because I would have to take stats and economics and business classes that have to do with numbers, and that's just not the way my brain is trained. So if this formula makes sense to me, it can sure make sense to you, because when we set the pace and we have those numbers, we know 1 + 1 = 2. And if you line up these pacings across your timeline and you have your finish line, you're going to get there. If you hit your pace, you hit your finish line, period. And that is a little bit of this real excitement that we can get. We're in the midst of it, right? When we're in the goal setting part of it and we're like feeling kind of overwhelmed by what we have to do and what we might not have to do, you can know that you're accomplishing your goals by hitting your pace. If you stumble upon my Facebook or my Instagram or even my blog, you'll go and see how I just love to talk about the seasons that we're in and how you can remain present. Guess what? Pace can also do that for you too. Because when you set your pace, and we'll get into like an example of what that looks like, because you're like, Paige, you're talking about this stuff. I don't know what that looks like. We'll get into that. And if you have any questions for your specific pacing, put your goal here. I'd love to see it. And then we'll ad-lib some ideas of what your pace could look like. But when you set your pace, it gives you the ability to be in the here and now, because you know what you're going to accomplish. And when you are in the present moment, okay, today it's this day or it's this week in my goals, and this is what I have to do in order to hit my goals, I don't have to worry about what's happening in the future or what's coming down the pipeline. I don't have to worry about any of that. All I have to worry about is the goal that I have in front of me today, or this week, or during this season, or whatever it is for you. And you just go after it. And what that does is it frees you up from the worry, from the planning that might get in the way of you really experiencing fullness of life and fullness of experience. So set that pace, guys. It's so important. It'll help you be present for all of life's seasons, even having goals in the middle. If you're a planner like me, you're like, Paige, I like to think what's next. I have papers. If you saw my desk right now, I have papers scattered all around, and I have notes in my calendar, my physical calendar that I carry around. I like to know what's coming down the pipeline tomorrow. Before I go to bed every night, I look at my phone, I check my work schedule, see what meetings I have, mentally preparing myself. Well, when you have pacing, it helps you be prepared for what's next. So if you think of pacing just purely as like a number line, like 1 to 10, and you're on number 3, you don't have to guess what's next. You know at 3, after comes 4, and you're at stage 4 in your process. And again, if you keep the pace from what you destined, right? You preset your pace. You knew what pace you had to accomplish to hit your finish line. If you hit your pace, you will hit your finish line, and you are guaranteed to hit your goals. That's a big and bold statement. I know. I understand it's a little crazy and a little scary and sounds a little fluffy. But guys, I'm telling you, setting landmarks, setting signposts along the way in your journey will help tell you where you're at and will give you some frame of reference of, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I supposed to be somewhere else? Why do I feel like these things are pulling at me? And here's the deal. Life happens. Life pulls us in all different directions. I don't have kids, and I couldn't even imagine what the past few years have been like for those people who have school-aged kids. It's probably been crazy, but that doesn't take away your ultimate goal and desire, right? We're talking about goals here. And that means that it's been put on your heart or on your mind for some reason out there. I like to think it's because, God's got our back. So the fact that it's been put there means that you get to determine what you say yes and what you say no to. When you have your pace, if there is something that is getting in the way of you hitting that landmark, hitting that signpost, whatever you want to call it, if there's something getting in the way, then you need to say yes and say no to some things, because that is going to help you accomplish your goal. No matter what happens in life, we all make decisions every single day that we say yes and say no to. And so when we have what we're supposed to be accomplishing in the here and now, we're able to really decide what in our life are we choosing to do. And it is a choice, guys. Everything that we're talking about is a choice. So I don't see any comments about any examples of goals that you guys have out there in the audience. So let's just pull one out. All right. So I'll give you a personal goal. How's that? I just came up with these a few weeks ago because it is January and I love New Year's resolutions. So my goal is to finish my manuscript by April 1st. Right? That's my goal. That is my big goal. But guess what? We're going to break it down even further into bite-sized pieces from today to that April 1st deadline, right? Because that seems big. That seems really kind of like out there in the ether, very imaginative. We can't really like pin it down what it is, but we're going to do that. So I have this goal, April 1st, I have my timeline, right? I have my finish line. My finish line is April 1st. And I know how many words I have to get in order for it to be quote unquote finished. So I have my words, I have my numbers, I have my timeline. And today's what? Today's the 25th of January, which gives me, X amount of days to accomplish that. Well, how far away am I from hitting that goal? So say I have 20,000 words left to write in order to hit that manuscript. Well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell myself, hey, these are how many words you have to write every single day in order to hit that April 1st deadline. It is now up to me. It is now in my hands what I have to do every single day. And if I do hit those things every single day, if I write those words every single day, I'm going to hit my April 1st deadline. I might even blow it out of the water. I might go above and beyond. But I know 1 + 1 = 2. If I do this every day, it's going to hit my deadline. Let's give you another example. I hate to be stereotypical, but, a lot during the January time frame, we see a lot of people in the gyms, and we see a lot of people trying to get healthy. But what causes, I don't want to use this word because it's really negative, but like failure or people falling off the track of their goals is that they're not specific, and they're not in what we've been talking about through all the speakers today. They've had so much insight, and they're not really like, you want to get super specific and you want to pull it down to its like ultimate root of what you're going after. So get healthy is right. That's up here. That's broad. That's big. But how can we drill that down? Well, okay, I want to move my body more. Great. If it doesn't even have to be a weight loss goal, guys. It could be moving your body more. Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to become a runner? Do you want to be able to touch your toes? Do you want to be able to lift a certain amount? What is it for you? And it can be anything. But guess what? I am going to I want to touch my toes. I can touch my toes, but we're going to go with that. I want to be able to touch my toes. Well, what's it going to do? What do I need to do in order to touch my toes in 30 days? Is that a reasonable goal? Well, if I stretch every day and I do movement that is good for my body and to be able to touch my toes in 30 days, absolutely, I'm going to get there. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I really encourage you to do 3 things. Set your finish line. Where are you going? Know where you're going, because if you don't have a finish line, you won't know when you got there. Set your finish line right after this. I'm giving you 30 minutes before the next talk. So set your finish line. The second thing you're going to do is make it very specific. If you think it's specific enough, go back to it. Even if you're like, Paige, I can't, I'm done. This is as specific as I can get. Go back one more time. I promise you it's a really good exercise to get really specific and really put that finish line into perspective of what you're going after. And the last thing is set your pace. So you have your timeline, you have your numbers that you want to accomplish it by. So when you do those 3 things, right, we're going to do it again. We're going to talk about the timeline, the finish line, hit that finish line, set that finish line. Number 2, get really specific of where that finish line is. Is it a date? Is it a number? Is it a marker? How do you measure success? Set it for yourself. Set that finish line. Get really specific about it. And the third thing, again, work backwards and set that pace. That pace is going to be what helps you remember to keep this goal in mind. It's going to tell you what to say yes and no to. It's going to show you how far you have left to go, how far you've come, and to be present in this current season that God has you in. And my friends, I wish you all the best of luck in accomplishing whatever goal you have set forth before you. If you have any questions, please let me know. My door is always open, whether through direct message or Instagram DM. You can find me at pagec.clark on Instagram and most everywhere else. And it has been a true pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having me. And you have 30 minutes. Go set your goals and accomplish them, and make your dreams come true.